Andrew are here, but mostly Disney is the name of the podcast here to play. Laugh along to what they say. So tune in, grab your mouse ears, let's all give a cheer for Disney. Times are here.
Hey guys, and welcome to the But Mostly Disney podcast. I'm Tater, and with me is my friend on the other end from Charleston, South Carolina, Andrew. How are you doing, buddy?
Good. How are y'all doing tonight?
And tonight, I'm very honored, and I'll show you. I have the OG right here, and we still have a cabinet that we kept from our original owner, and we only burn them sometimes. And it wasn't because we knew they were going to be limited at any time in the future. But with us is Lisa DiNoto, and I don't even know how to introduce her. We'd be here all night. I mean, I think a lot of us know her from her candles and then her photography. Oh yeah, and she runs all the time. And if you've been to Momentum, she's an incredible speaker and a wonderful writer, and is just a really all around great person. So, thanks for coming, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And I have a suggestion.
My daughter actually tonight, she goes, she goes, who you got on tonight, Dad? And I was like, the candle lady. She's like, I'm going to go burn my candle right now.
That's right.
I was like, okay. Remember, we don't have a lot left.
It's funny because it's such a staple for like Christmas presents in our house.
Oh, yeah.
And when they're not there,
great.
then we miss them. And I have a beautiful photograph that if I'm being honest, I still haven't framed, that I got at Momentum our first year, which is where I got to meet Lisa and listen to her talk. But for those of you who weren't there, maybe Lisa, give us a little bit of your origin story.
It's a big question.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the view from 20,000 feet is that I used to be in corporate law. I did all the things you're supposed to do to get a good resume. I went to Columbia undergrad, Harvard Law School, and then I was doing M&A, mergers and acquisitions in New York City for a long time, and then switched to a firm in DC. Was very, very unhappy, despite the fact that I was doing all the things you were supposed to be doing. And so about 10 years ago now, I pulled the plug. Quit my law firm job and basically just started like rewriting life from scratch, and trying to like do all of the things that I felt like I was supposed to be doing with my life with respect to creativity and community and all of those things, and have been sort of sharing that story out loud as I find my way over the last decade or so. So in the meantime, I have two children and my husband, and we've actually relocated down to the Disney area. I'm like 1.2 miles as the crow flies from Cinderella Castle. We're immediately behind Magic Kingdom. I can hear the water pageant in my bedroom at night. And you alluded to a couple things along the way. I think that my running journey goes very much hand in hand with everything else that I'm talking about. I think like the meditative aspect of running is sort of what's helped me to clear my mind and sort of find myself and rebuild this life along the way. Like the quiet space that I find in running is what helps me to get there. And along the way, I have a blog called thecastlerun.com where I sort of catalog this journey and talk a lot about running and life in general. I've done a lot of things as far as like finding my way as an entrepreneur since that time. You alluded, of course, to the candles. I had a candle company called Core Memory Candles that operated continuously through around 2023 when I closed it down to explore other things. And I've done a pop-up with that since and hope to be doing that again. So they're not gone forever, but they are sort of hibernating right now. And my main line of work at this point, other than writing and doing the candle pop-ups, is as a photographer. And I do a lot of portrait photography. I do a lot of other things. And I have a site called thousandcircles.com, which is a similar philosophy to the candles. The candles core memory was sort of an aesthetic take on Disney. So it's the sense of Walt Disney World, but in a way that might be our little secret. So your house might smell good and have a lovely candle sitting on the table, and it's our little secret that it just happens to smell like the contemporary lobby. And that's actually my take on Disney photography as well. So it's sort of fine art photography that just happens to be at Walt Disney World. So somebody might see, a beautiful picture of cherry blossoms or an animal or, a lantern or, 100 other things. And they just happen to be taken at the Disney parks. And if you're subscribed to my Thousand Circles newsletter. I actually send an email every single morning at 9 a.m. that has a piece of photography like what I just described, along with some writing that goes along with it. And my people are there and get that email from me every morning. So 20,000 feet, that's the quick rundown of all of the things and sort of how I got here. But yeah, we're a stone's throw from Cinderella Castle, and I'm sort of reshaping life along the way.
So Chris brings up a good point. What is it with all these lawyers defecting to Disney? Because you're not the only one. I mean, is that what? So, and again, we know Lisa through Lou and through WDW, where she is a fixture there, and I mean, does the lawyer thing draw you? Is it like dentists and suicide? Like lawyers go to Disney? I mean, it is interesting.
I mean, I think there's probably, I mean, I think you could delve pretty deep
Right.
on that question, but the dentist thing is probably a closer parallel than we'd like to admit.
Right.
But yeah, I think in law, you're kind of forced to look for the negative in everything in law. And I think that's why it's such a toxic line of work. I mean, even me, I did mergers and acquisitions. I was a contract attorney. I wasn't, a divorce attorney, or the people who see like a criminal attorney, like the people who see like the worst of society and have to stand up there and defend it. But even as a mergers and acquisitions attorney, even when you're reviewing contracts, you're sort of trained to be thinking worst case scenario, right? Because that's the whole purpose. Like if everybody's happy at the end of the day, the contract doesn't matter. The only time everybody's looking at the contract is when something goes wrong. Right. And so you're trained specifically to read with an eye toward how this person might be actually out to get you, or like how things could go out of line, or how things could spin out. Like you only serve a purpose when things go wrong, when you're in contract law like that. And so your whole, your day-to-day is basically reading with an eye toward how the other person might not have the best intentions, how things might spin out, how things might go wrong. And I think like the extreme nature of Disney on the other end of that, I think draws people in. I don't know that I've ever articulated both of those things quite so hand in hand. I mean, I know I've realized that about law for a long time, but it's an interesting question because I think like Disney is so extreme in the other direction of like forcing you into the mind of childhood and make believe and magic and suspending disbelief in the best possible way, and I think that if you're being forced in the opposite direction in your day to day so much as an attorney or any line of work that puts you in that headspace, the counterbalance of Disney is a really, really big draw. And I know for me, like I wasn't, we went to Disney as a kid, like when I was growing up, when I was little, every few years we'd take a Disney trip and I enjoyed it. And then we would come home and I would get on with my life. It wasn't like I wasn't like a born and bred diehard Disney person. I wasn't. I mean, I fully admit that. It wasn't until I was an adult and came back here, actually after we lost my father about 12 dozen years ago. And 6 months after that, my mom and I kind of planned to get the heck out of Dodge trip where we took the family to Disney World just to get away from all of the ick that we had been living through for so long, and where else to go but like the happiest place on earth. Right. So we went back to Disney. And again, like I had never been this diehard Disney person. I liked it, but it wasn't like I was diehard for anything about it. And I just remember a couple of moments during that trip. I remember like I talk about them a lot. We happened to be staying at the Boardwalk, which is now my favorite resort, probably because of that trip. And I remember like standing outside at the Boardwalk that one of those nights, it was like Columbus Day weekend. So it was that perfect Orlando weather. Like I call it like room temperature with a breeze outside. And we were standing outside on the boardwalk, and my kids were very young at the time, and they were watching Magician on the boardwalk. And I just remember standing there and looking around myself and being like, I could live here, like out of nowhere. And then that same trip, we were standing on Main Street, like near the hub, and what's still one of my favorite nighttime shows of all time, the Celebrate the Magic light show, if you ever saw that. I remember standing on Main Street, looking up at the castle during Celebrate the Magic and thinking like, these people get it. Like these people get it. And so it was as an adult that it all kind of gelled like that. And I think, what you just asked about, coming out of law, and like I just mentioned, like we had recently lost my dad at the time, which was a terrible time in my life. I think Disney just sort of answered something that I needed at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
and
get it.
it's fascinating, like the way you put that, because so many people and my friends who don't get Disney and don't get why I love it so much. And I do have other interests. Like I'm not all Disney, I'm mostly Disney, right? But it is escapism, but I don't think that's really it at its purest form. Like at its purest form, it's going someplace that really offers a counterweight to my daily life, right? And my, I've been in the hospitality industry my whole life, and I feel like I've always given a Disney level of service before I even knew what that was. And my story is very similar to yours. I went as a kid a few times. I loved Sunday nights with Walt, but it wasn't. I lived in Florida. I opened restaurants in Jacksonville and Daytona. I was right there. We had a store in Orlando. I didn't go to Disney in the 90s at all. And then it was something that my wife, we needed to get out of town, and it became a family thing, right? And it grew into our thing. And I'm not going to lie, I keep trying to reach back into that memory honeypot and pull it out, right? Like there is part of me that just wants to stay at that time. So there is a nostalgia and a draw for that keeps me there. But as I meet more and more people and these folks who get it, like, when you say I could live there, like I just feel like I'm home when I'm there, maybe that's why Disney keeps saying that to us all. But the folks in the chat, the folks that I've met through this group, the folks that you meet in line, it's just different. It's a world I wish could exist. Right. And my degree's in psychology. I went into a field where I wanted to help people, and then I had twins and had to pay for them, so I kind of started out in a job that I would do for free, and then and I do real estate, and I love it. I still feel like I help folks. I do it again with hopefully a Disney level of service, and thinking of my client first, and I hope that translates well. But I had to go the other way. I had to go into a career that I didn't want to do, that I'm still happy with, but not where my heart lies, right? Which is why this podcast and the social media stuff is such a great outlet, so much fun.
So, at least you talk about changing jobs. My wife is now going through that. She's been a property manager for 18 years, and she's so tired of, like, today she got to work and they had to do a wellness check on somebody, and the person had passed. And she called me. She's like, I am so tired of the negative. I'm tired of getting yelled at. I'm tired of getting screamed at. I go to work and somebody's passed away. So she's going still in the property management field, but she's working from home starting the first of next month. And then for us going to Disney, I'd gone in high school a couple times, and I lost my grandfather in 16. And him and I were real close. And I looked at my wife and I'm like, we got to get out of town. We got to do something. And she's waiting on us like, I want to take the girls to Disney World. My oldest hadn't been since she was 7. Addison was 3. She hadn't been yet. And that was where it clicked for me when I got down there. And I see my 2 girls holding hands walking down Main Street. Look at my wife. She goes, you crying? I'm like, nah, my allergies are really bothering me right now. And I said, this is it. This is where I want to spend my time with my family. And every time we go, forget about work, you forget about all the negative, and it's just all the positive and the magic. And my oldest is 25, and I looked the other day and I was like, Buzz Lightyear's back open. You want to take a weekend trip, just you and I, and go down there? And she's like, it's back open, because that's her favorite thing to do when we go down there. So we're planning that, her and I. But yeah, it's this escape from life that I think all of us in this group find that we need. I want to share it with everybody, and everybody at my work goes, you're going to Disney World again? I'm like, sure I am. I'm leaving in 3 weeks.
Unapologetically so.
Yeah.
Which and that's a great.
I'm
sorry, just real quickly, and please step on me all you want to, because I'm not good at this. But it did remind me, Lisa, when does our guide for the new Buzz Lightyear ride come out? Because if you didn't know, she had the most comprehensive, easy to learn and understand guide to getting the high score on Buzz Lightyear. So I'm patiently waiting for that to come out.
I know, and it's in the works, and it's so funny that you mentioned that, because to this day, that was one of my all-time best performing site like articles of all time, like my guide to max out on Buzz Lightyear, like every month without fail. That was like my top 3. So yeah, it's a little bit sad. It needs to be updated. But yes, it is coming. It is in the works. But yeah, I need to do a little bit more research before I get there. And what I was going to say, what I was about to say was, when we talk about like Disney adults and like people on the, not on the outside, but like people who aren't, of that mindset, who don't get it. I think what people don't understand a lot of the time is, at least, certainly for me, and I think I probably speak for most of us, because we're all of a certain mindset. It's not about Mickey Mouse, and it's not about, it's not about character meet and greets, and it's not about Space Mountain, and it's not even about Buzz Lightyear, right? Like it's just about like this place and the feeling of this place and the community, and like. And I used to say, like, my hashtag or my tagline that I used to sort of jokingly say, but I really did mean it as we were planning our move down here, was I wanted to be able to have lunch at Epcot. Like I wanted it to just be a regular part of my day. Like I wanted all of the like the peaks and valleys of like coming down here and leaving and like being sad after. Like I wanted all that to go away. And I just wanted Disney to just be a regular part of my life. Like I wanted to be able to go grocery shopping and take my kid to the dentist and then like pop by Epcot to have like lunch at Tangerine Cafe and then go home and do the laundry. Like I just wanted it to be a regular part of my life like that. And that's very much what we have since we've moved down here. It's people talk about, it's funny, like when we were planning our move down here, people would say, well, aren't you going to get tired of it? I was like, nobody asks you if you're moving to like some small town in the middle of nowhere. Like, aren't you going to get tired of the mall? Like, no, like it's just life. Like, Magic Kingdom is, less than 2 miles from my house. Like I could go after we finish this call. I could literally like drive over there and watch the fireworks if I wanted to. It's just part of life. It's just life. And that's what I love about being down here, is not like that it's peak excitement of, oh my gosh, I can go ride Space Mountain anytime that I want, or I can go like wait in line and meet Mickey Mouse. It's just a regular part of life. And I think that's like what we captured by moving down here. And I think that's what a lot of us capture by, like Andrew, like we were just saying about like popping down for the weekend to ride the new Buzz Lightyear, right? Like, yeah. It's just a part of life. It's just a fun part of life. And I think it also taps into, this is probably a lawyer thing and a thing for a lot of professionals as well. It also, there's so many rabbit holes that you can go down, and it's such a good like type A thing to do. Like that first trip that we were planning down here, when I hadn't been here in forever, and I was like learning all the things, and I'm like obsessively trying to get like a Be Our Guest reservation, an Ohana reservation, and like lightning lanes for this and that. So like there's so many things that, I mean, and obviously like so many things to learn about the history of the place and Walt and all of the Easter eggs that are everywhere. Like there's so many, there's like infinite rabbit holes that you can go down, whether it's with respect to like a type A person planning a trip, or like learning about this place, or like embracing the history, or like listening to all 800 plus of Lou's podcasts, like it like feeds that type of personality. Like it's magical and it's whimsical and it's fun and it's childlike, but it also like somehow simultaneously feeds into all of my like most type A tendencies.
Well, and because there's such a, like Caleb, I just put his comment up saying, that we're Walt Disney fans. The cool thing is that I feel like my fandom, at least, it keeps evolving, right? Because I still love standing in line for a picture with Olaf, and I still love going on Space Mountain with the kids. But then I start reading like engineering books about how it works. And then I want to go behind the scenes and see, okay, well, Lightning Lane kind of makes me upset, but why? How are they moving people? And then you start watching videos of like, literally physics problems. I mean, it's more than just a park, right? And people can make fun of it. And again, I'm unapologetically Disney. I'm not a football fan, right? I watch people spend tons of money, wear football gear, spend their whole Sundays, money on Super Bowl tickets. My outfit has ears, it's just different. But I love there's a science to Disney, and there's, an art to Disney. There's, smells, and as we know in Canada, there's so much to touch and taste there, and it keeps changing every time I go. And I go once a month, pretty much, and I'm still not tired. I still get tingly driving on property. Now, I don't live there. Maybe that would change. Maybe it would become a little different. But I know, I don't know. I think it was during Christmas time, but Jeremy Goff was down with his, and Sarah were down. And I met up with them, Magic Kingdom. And we started at the hub and just walked all the way around the park and just talked. And I thought, it was a moment where I'm like, I could live here and I would eat dinner and come over here at night and just walk around. Never touch a ride, never touch a line, maybe not even buy anything. I hope Disney's not listening when I say that. But I mean, I could just wander, for hours. My own backyard.
We talked about in 6 years, because I asked him to be off to college, where do we want to go? And my wife looked at me and she goes, I know where you want to go. And I'm like, yeah, I want to go to Florida. I want to be able to, I love people watching. I can go there. Last time we went, they went back to the room and I sat there with a Diet Coke and this people watch for 3 hours and going, I used to be that dad. I'm glad I'm not that dad anymore. Or, that kid's crying. Why is he crying? But I just want to be able, like you say, go have lunch. Like, I'm going to Home Depot and I'm going to lunch at, Epcot. I'll catch y'all later.
Right.
I can't wait for that day to happen. And it's going to happen. I'm planning for it.
Yeah, my kids' favorite thing and to do, like 90, not 90%, a large percentage of the time when they want to go to Disney, they just want to go to Mitsukoshi. Like that's their thing. The shop at Japan. Like when they want to go to, they just ask to go to Mitsukoshi. That's where they want to go. So we pop in. We literally walk over to Mitsukoshi. They'll pick out usually like some kind of like a ramen or something, some kind of a sweet and a drink, maybe like an incense or something. And then we check out and then we go home and they like make their ramen that they picked out at the house and like have their sweet and like smell an incense or whatever. But I remember one time we were standing in the shop and the kids were talking amongst themselves about the katana display in Mitsukoshi. And they were talking about how like the katanas had changed. And there was a woman like within earshot of them. And she was like, how often are you here? It was like a lot. For a lot. But like it's funny because like those are the things that start to become like your norm. Like when they were a little bit younger, they were always going to go to the boneyard, which may it rest in peace. But at Animal Kingdom and just play like in that play area at the boneyard, or like it's like those little things that they gravitate toward, and it's very rare that they want to like go ride Thunder Mountain. I mean, they'll do it like they love Everest or they love like Safari or like they love attractions and stuff, but like even as children, and I think that probably speaks volumes about like the pull of Disney for all of us, but even as children, the things that they ask to do aren't like, I want to meet Mickey Mouse. They have zero interest in characters.
Yeah,
like,
my daughter does too. She has no interest.
Yeah, like I'm more interested in like photo ops with characters than my kids are. It's they want to do, it's like these little rituals that they have now built into their lives that like again just happen to be at Disney.
I love it. It makes me so happy. And Brian, he was on the show, Hawk, fascinating guy. But he said the same thing. Every time driving under that arch, it just makes you feel so good. I was thinking this earlier. Do you feel like, so my real job, as I call it, is still helping people, right? Like there's a business side to it. And I do have to watch other people, and there are people who are trying to get over. And I've made it very public that I'm not always a fan of real estate agents. I like me, but I'm not. It's a different podcast. Do you feel like did you have to unlearn stuff from your former life to be able to fit in at Disney? Like, did you have to unlearn law and what you were doing to regroup and then do it for yourself, in all the different ventures you've done?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm still working on it every day. And if you know me, this is probably not a huge secret, but I will fully admit that I'm still working on taking the walls down. Like I'm still, and I think beyond, I mean, I can talk to you about, what I was alluding to before about like the negative mindset and trying to think through like the worst case scenario for everything and things like that. But I think for me, I think I was so unhappy in my work for so long. And also was like, this little like 20 something girl, generally like in a boardroom full of, typically older men, like arguing over, $50 billion deals. Like that was my life every day. And so I had to have this sort of face on that I'm still unlearning, I think. And certain of my friends who we've mentioned, some of whom we've mentioned during this talk, still like make fun of me, like when I switch unknowingly into like that face.
Oh, I know exactly what
that
they're
version
talking
of
about.
myself.
I told my wife, I'm like, she's like, who's coming on the show tonight? I'm like, Lisa. She's like, are you scared? I'm like, a little bit, but I will say this, that you, after hearing both of your talks, your second one, you're at Momentum.
Yeah.
We there's speakers, in case you haven't been, that's Lou's thing, Momentum/Tater. No, I'm just kidding. Go sign up. If you have, you don't even need a side hustle to go and walk away. Just really have learned a lot. And Lisa gave a talk the first year on the imposter syndrome, which I'd never heard of. I'd never heard of it before. And I was like, oh, that's me. And if you don't know what it is, I mean, look it up. Or if there's a taped version of Lisa's talk, it was just incredible. She could probably charge for it. And then this past year, you really dug into your story. I mean, it was an in-depth, like bring you to tears, I just want to hug you kind of talk. And it was so honest and so open. And, sharing that experience with someone obviously brings down a lot of barriers, but it did humanize you for me, because I look up to you and all you've done, because you're obviously don't sit still ever, right? If you're not running, you're creating. And if you're not creating, you're making. And if you're not making, you're selling. I mean, it's impressive, I mean, it blows me away. And so getting to kind of see that warm, cuddly, vulnerable side of you is probably something you didn't get to show much in New York City.
I mean, I almost couldn't, as a rule.
Right.
You couldn't demonstrate like any sort of weakness,
because someone would
particularly
exploit
it.
I
mean, exploit it. And also like I was sort of walking into the room having to counter, like, again, the fact that I was like, I was like a 20 something, like skinny little thing. Just at the time I was,
Right.
it's just, I was this young girl, like arguing these massive deals, with, like I said, I mean, not to over categorize, but, typically a group of, older men of a certain type and generation who certainly didn't like look down on me, but it was, you certainly couldn't walk into the room showing your vulnerabilities. And I think, when I feel threatened, or when I feel I'm extremely introverted. And when that side of me sort of starts to rear its head, I think I sort of into this face and version of me. It's really just like, it's just ingrained from years of having to be that person publicly. And I don't think there's necessarily fault in that. I don't think you have to show all your vulnerabilities to the whole world all the time. I think there's some merit to having that skill set, but at the same time, I think, and in sort of opening yourself up in that way to community and all those things, it's definitely something you have to unlearn. And the ability to give that talk that you were just referring to was such a gift to me. Like you said, I spoke on imposter syndrome, which we could have probably a 6-hour conversation about,
right.
On a different day, because it's like a massive topic, and if you don't have it, you're doing something wrong, because it means you're challenging yourself. Like it's the indicator that you're challenging yourself and putting yourself in rooms where like you're being challenged, if that's the way that you're feeling. Like we all deal with it every day, and then. So I think that, I mean, I've spoken at Momentum for many years, but like that was the first one that you heard. And then last year I spoke about resiliency. That's the second talk that you were referring to. And in talking about resiliency, I sort of approached it as, I told my story, but not as a self-indulgent thing, but more as a way to show everybody in the room that we have some version of that story.
Right.
And it's in overcoming that and being able to pivot and being able to stop doing the thing that is wrong. I mean, I think that you actually, I still remember you came up to me and we spoke about that after the talk.
Mm-hmm.
Just the ability to like change tack when even if something's like succeeding financially and in all of the ways, like if in your heart it's not like where you're supposed to be spending your time and effort on your like limited time on this planet, it's time to pivot. So yeah, it was like a huge gift to be able to do that talk on resiliency and share my story. But again, like I wasn't doing it in a way that was meant to be self-indulgent so much as to like be the one of us who got up and shared a story that we could all tell some version of.
Yeah, no, it did not come across that way. I mean, it was such a bonding moment. I think 50 people in that room were moved, and it's just so cool. And it was so Disney because, again, that room really draws a great group of people that, again, how different are those meetings from New York City where everyone leaves hugging and exchanging phone numbers and telling everybody how great they are, and it really is a rising tide lifts all boats kind of place, right? Like everyone there just gets something out of it, but it's also like a breeding ground for empathy, right? And I think Disney does that a good job of that. And then, I don't know, like 5 years ago, I found myself getting a little disenfranchised with everything. And I've always been a really happy, upbeat person, but I just decided to be naive. Like that's who I wanted to be. I want to be a big kid, right? I'm still going to go to work. I'm still going to pay my taxes. I'm still going to do these things, but I'm just willing to be a little more naive about things. And I find it's really refreshing. I'm not going to let you take advantage of me either. Like I'm going to look over my shoulder a little bit, but I've just tried to put myself in a place where it can be as close to Disney as possible, where everybody's, letting somebody else go first and picking up trash every 5 feet, which, just doesn't happen as much as it does in the real world.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think it's naivety so much as, I guess there's two
for me, it is.
sides. Well, but it's first of all, like admitting what you don't know is like the best way to learn, right? So that's not naivety. It's just like being open to learning from other people, and also like just training yourself not to see the bad. Like our brains are amazing things. If you're looking, that's why gratitude journals work, right? Like if you're looking for the negative, like you're going to find it, like it's out there. But if you're training yourself to see the positive, that's why, like, if you're doing a gratitude journal where you're like, at the end of the day, every day you're supposed to write like 5 things that you're grateful for that happen. Like if you're training your mind to be looking for those things all day, then that's what you start to see. So I don't know that it's naivety so much as just like retraining your focus.
Yeah. And giving what you want to get too, right? Like life's quid pro quo. It just is. Yes. But I love putting that out there. Okay. So candles, photography, and then what blows me away. Yeah. And so Chris says this, I told you I'd be a little ADD with the comments, but Chris is saying that like at Disney, it makes you, you want to plus it for others too, right? Like being there really has a way of not just being for you, right? Like I'm very, as gregarious as I can be, I really am an introverted extrovert kind of thing, right? And so when I'm filming for YouTube, I feel so stupid, right? Because I just don't want to be in anybody's way. You know what I mean? Like my dumb YouTube video is so much less important than someone's parade, right? And I'm really conscientious about it to the point that sometimes I don't get to do what I want, right? And I would do it a million times that way, especially while I'm in that park or on property. But what blows me away when I think about what you've done is stopping the candles. Like, I don't know the finances or any of that, but just, I know they were popular. Right. And so to make that kind of pivot, it's really impressive to me because look, I always try to tie, like, Disney, Walt mortgaged his life insurance, his car, all his stuff to do these things that everyone said was going to fail. And you can't live your life completely like that, right? You got to save like you're going to live forever and spend like you're going to die tomorrow. And how do you figure out, like, when do you give up or when do you stick in there? Because just over the horizon, you just don't know. Like, so it's impressive to me, at least from the outside, to watch you walk away from something that we all loved a lot and or want to see more of. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. If only there was someone, anyone around here. But to make that pivot, it's really impressive. And what helped you to do? How did you do that? I guess is my question.
I mean, I think the best way to explain it is to go back to why I started the candles in the first place.
Yeah.
Like I started the candles as a way to connect with my people. Like I've always liked, I used to, even like when I was in law school, I would like crochet and do like art, like acrylics. And like, I always liked doing tangible things. And I think that's because I had such an academic life that I had a very rare appreciation for like the ability to make useful, tangible things, as opposed to like the things that I did day to day that, paid the bills so well. But, and so I have always dabbled in things like that. And, I won't tell the whole story about, how the candle idea came to be because it would take us too far off track. But, I did at one point sort of get really interested in the idea of the sense of Disney and the neuroscience behind it, and and that interest in it, and like pairing that with like my love for design and like making the labels and writing the descriptions and doing the photography for them. There were like so many different things about the candles that interested me. And so I sort of dove into that and created them. And I launched the candles in the fall of 2019, which is right before something happened, right?
Right.
So I launched the candles in the fall of 2019, and they actually did very well out the gate. Like they were made with love. They were received beautifully by my community, and it was really just meant to be like this tangible thing that I could give to the people that were otherwise consuming my content and forming a connection with me online, and in person. And they were doing very well. And then all of a sudden COVID hit, and they like exploded because all of a sudden, like trips were getting canceled. Obviously the parks were closed. And so like this thing that like everybody, that so many of us, like this whole conversation has been about, right, that we're all so drawn to, like all of the sudden, like we couldn't have it anymore. And so the candles, which had been doing very, very well up to that time, all of a sudden, like it massively exploded. And at the time it was a huge gift because so much of the other work that I was doing was on hiatus, and my husband's work was on hiatus. And so, the mortgage was getting paid with candles. And
Wow.
it was a huge, I'm not going to begrudge that. Like they were a huge gift at the time. And then, sort of COVID, that time passed, and they continued to grow and to do very well. And all of a sudden it was 2023, and this thing that I had initially created as a way to be close to and have a means of contact with the people that, I sort of had grown around me as this beautiful community. All of a sudden it was like this huge wall between me and my community because my day to day was completely consumed by the running this like massive candle company.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I was, sourcing materials and dealing with production and dealing with shipping and dealing with, it's reality in any line of work. Your
Right.
day to day isn't quite as glamorous as it looks on paper. It certainly is the case for big law, and real estate and property management and all the other lines of work that we've talked about today. But, all of a sudden, like this thing that I had created as with the intention of having it be like a touch point and a point of connection with my people was taking over my life to the extent that I was no longer having the time to connect with my people. And so the more that became the case, the more I couldn't ignore that was the case. And then it was like summer of 2023, and the main person that I had helping me, she was wonderful. She helped with a lot of my day to day. Was about to move away to go to a different school. And I was like, all right, this is like a, or get off the pot moment, because I'm either training somebody completely new to help me or I'm moving on with my life. And at the end of the day, like, and I don't listen, like body starts yelling, like I was having like anxiety, it was manifesting in ways that it was becoming more and more difficult to ignore. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, not because of the finances, but because I was taking away, like you just said, this thing that people loved. Like I was like, people loved core memory, and like they associated, such and such a scent with their home because it was the scent that they burned in their home. It was like, it had become such a big part of all of our lives. And in taking that away from people, I felt like it felt like a betrayal.
Right.
It hugely, like it was so hard. And everybody was so kind about it at the time. And all I could think was like, if I'm doing this well, and I could have said the same thing about law too. I mean, if you've walked away from like the legal career that I had, like you can walk away from other things because it sort of trains you to have higher standards about how you're spending your time. But I all I could think was like, if I can do this well serving people in something that I don't love anymore? Like, what could I do for people in something that I was really still passionate about? And that was how Thousand Circles came to be, and all the other work that I'm doing now, but the photography line of things, and that's why when I talk about Thousand Circles, I liken it to core memory, because I think it's the same exact market.
Right.
Like it might it might not seem that way on its surface to people on the outside, but like in my mind, it's that same need to like slide Disney into your life for those people like us who like have another life. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like it's our little secret that those are the cherry blossoms in Africa, or the Japan pavilion. Like it's our little secret that's that giraffe is on Kilimanjaro safari and not in South Africa. Like it's our little secret that blah 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 blah. Like the images that I share each day and like the writing that goes along with them are sort of that same exact market that like wanted their house to smell like the contemporary lobby, but not necessarily have Mickey Mouse hanging on the wall.
No, it's true. And I probably didn't even understand what fine art, like the definition of it was, but that's how I am with most things. Like, I mean, you can look up behind me and I do have some Mickey Mouse stuff, but I don't want my whole house to be, and I'm very particular about the merchandise I buy, right? Like I've actually started buying most of my stuff from other companies because there's something for everybody. It's not bad. I just don't want Mickey. I want something subtle. Like I have a monorail flag shirt, something like that. That's, you might not even know is Disney if you didn't know what Disney was. Like it's just subtle. And so your pictures are beautiful and your writing is spectacular. Like it really is fun opening your email every day. And we talked about it. Like I hate emails because my life is so full of them and texts. But and we were talking at Momentum, and I had gone through, and Paul Gowder, if you need to learn about email, he's the guy to talk to, is talking about email, and I'm like, oh, I've been deleting everyone's, like I've been unsubscribing from everything. And then if you start your own email list, and if you're not subscribed, please do. Then you start seeing when you only have like 100 people and it goes to 99, it's like a big punch in the gut. And I'm like, oh, and then actually Lisa said, oh yeah, and I need to open them too, don't I? Because you can see who opened them. So at least you got to open them. And I think I have Lisa on 2 different emails. So I open one and delete it. The other one I actually stay and read. But the photos are beautiful, which I was thinking, and I don't, if this is already available and I missed it, I'm sorry. But what I would love is to have some screensaver stuff of your photos. And I was just thinking, I'd probably pay $9.99 for a pack of 10 photos. Just, I don't know if you can watermark them so they're only available on the computer and you can't print them, because I know people can be rotten, but I wouldn't mind, in our bedroom, my computer is our TV and it just rotates through backgrounds and they're all Disney, but wow, if I knew who did the pictures on there, that would be really cool.
Yeah, we're definitely on the same page. That is very much in the works. I mean, I have like a lot of working on a lot of different things.
Well, you've got
right
all this
now
free time, Lisa.
Areas.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I know. No, I'm working on a number of different things right now, but that is very much both phone wallpaper packs and horizontal packs. And I'm realistic. Like I know you can like screenshot stuff and do what you will with it. It's not going to be the right quality because what I share isn't, the right number of pixels for what we're talking about. But yeah, I mean, I'm realistic, but also I think like at a certain point, like it's the same idea as like a Patreon, right? Like it's, people kind of want a way to give back. And and so that's the kind of feedback that's very useful to me because, I'm looking for ways to kind of give to people who want to give back for what they're getting each day. And like, what can I, like, how could I better, like, how could I add on to what I'm doing right now in a way that people would value and like would open the door to let them maybe give back if they're not necessarily looking for a piece of wall art, because that's the monetization of it, not to get into the weeds, but like, what I sell right now is physical art. And I love doing that. And I have some books out and I have my first calendar out from the art. And so, that's sort of the full end of it right now. But I know there are people who aren't necessarily looking for that. And so I'm exploring ways to better serve those people.
When it's hard, and I'm really sentimental. Like I have trash from like 1988 that I'll never part with. My kids will have to throw it away, but I don't have any wall space left. Like I don't even know what to do. And I keep like, someone the other day was telling me how they've got a beautiful reprint of the original Disneyland Paris map. And I love maps. And I'm just like, I can't. And we're kind of getting to the point in our life, you know, I'm 54. I think I'm 54. I might be 55. No, 54. And
You just had a birthday. How old are you?
I am 55. I did just have a birthday yesterday. I forgot.
Are you
Okay.
are you getting the AARP stuff or not?
Right, where it doesn't matter anymore. But no, I'm getting to the point like where if it doesn't fit in the life raft anymore, then I can't keep it, right? So, you know, I know my kids, you know, I know our next house will be smaller, right? Like when we move to Florida and we have a few more obstacles to, you know, hurdles to jump over before we can do it, it'll be a smaller house. And I want it to be a smaller house, right? But the problem is I don't have a space. I don't have any space.
Yeah.
But on my computer. And Karen said the same thing. Like she would buy it in a heartbeat. So I mean, you know, and it would be awesome because your photography is spectacular. I mean, it's just gorgeous. I know you said at Momentum that you create love when you do like your photo shoots and you go out, and I've seen you talk about laying on your stomach and getting these shots for these graduations or weddings, and they're beautiful. I mean, they really are cool.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that feedback is, I mean, that's not why we're on this call, but
Sure it is.
that feedback is really helpful, because to me, it's all about service, right? It's all about, and that's where it all went back to when you were asking about me stopping the candles. It was like that was the big question. Like what I ended that story with was the big question, which was, sorry, my phone's ringing, which was, you know,
Was that Electric Magic Parade?
It was.
Yes. Yeah, Bro Down
you.
is my ringtone. Yeah. That's good. You got that in a few notes. But no, I mean, that was the big question for me with like learning that I could give up candles, which was that like, if I could do this well and not love it, then like how much better could I serve people if I was doing like the thing where my heart belonged, which is in like writing and photography for me. And so that's what this is all about. So like finding out like how I can better serve the people around me is like always the guidepost, right?
So, okay. So here's a frustration I have since I'm apparently just having a counseling session with you. So I wouldn't trade. I have two regrets. I would change a lot of things. If you know, looking back, you know, hindsight being 2020, I have two regrets. One, that I didn't get my Eagle Scout. I was really close to getting it, and I got in an argument with my dad over a girl who didn't know my name and never ever did, and quit Boy Scouts. Right, I need like 2 merit badges and a community service project. It was stupid. And my forensics coach in high school, I was sitting there one day, and the drama teacher called me down and asked me to do one of the lead parts in Inherit the Wind. And I'm like, oh, to audition? And she's like, no, Miss Cromlin says you're the guy, so you're the guy if you want the part. And I'm like, what does it entail? And it was like, you know, every day after school for the rest of my life. And I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. And I wish I had. I would go back and change those moments. But I wouldn't trade any other of my experiences, good or bad, because I like who I am now, right? Like I would never have wanted to even risk not meeting my wife and having my kids. And again, I genuinely have gone through a lot of stuff. Maybe someday I'll tell my whole story, but you know, a lot of hard things. And I love where I am now. I wouldn't trade it for anything, but it's a bummer that I found this medium that I really enjoy so late, right? Like, you know, I kind of worry, like, am I going to age out of social media at 55? And probably not. Like, I think it's getting to a point now where old people are watching YouTube as a TV channel. So I think I've got a few years left to try to make it. But if I'd have started 20 years ago, but I didn't have the passion 20 years ago. So I guess I'm trying to get to a question. Would you go back, having at least some of the knowledge you have now, and aim your ship in a different direction? Or would you still have been the kind of person who would have had to go into what for some would have been a dream career, you know, and literally a gold medal and the brass ring, but would you shoot for happy And how would you do that? Like how do you pay bills with your passion, right? Isn't that, I mean, that's the question, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think like my best answer to that question is that I'm glad I don't have the option.
Mm,
I mean, because I probably would go back and go to photography school straight out of, study photography straight out of high school and learn how to do, the best possible portraits and this, that, and the other. But I would just be like that law school professor I had who like practiced for 2 months, didn't like it, and then became a professor for the rest of his life. Like that person never lived real life, and I think like you bring everything that you are to the table today, and you wouldn't be like, I wouldn't be serving the community that's drawn to me if I hadn't lived the life I lived, because
right.
like it's because I did that thing, and also, and it was had merit in its own right at the time, and I never like made a decision knowing on its face necessarily that it was the wrong decision. I mean, I think each decision that I made along the way I thought was the best thing at the time, and then all of a sudden at some point in my life I realized that I had sort of gone off course and needed to very, very make a very sharp turn to course correct on what I was supposed to be doing with my life. But it's not like I was like knowingly making wrong decisions at the time.
Right. No,
I
absolutely.
having gone to I lived in New York and went to Columbia, and then I did a couple of different interesting jobs, and I lived in Japan, and then I went to
I
Harvard
forgot
Law,
you
and I
lived
met
in
these cool
Japan.
people, and then I mean, and I'm not saying these things like for bragging rights in any way whatsoever. Like we all have some path that led us to like the person we are like right now. And like the people that you're serving, you serve because you have that history and came to this place, So
Yeah.
like would I, if I had, knowing all of the things that I know now, I think before we even got on the phone, right? Before we even, started the live, when we were just chatting before the live, I said like, there's a part of me that's like amazed that that girl left law. And then there's like the other half of me that's amazed that it like took me so long to figure out that it was an option to leave law, and I think that the people that I connect with at this point in my life, I connect with because like they're on that journey too, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so like, would I be like necessarily like a better, objectively like a better photographer had I like studied photography out the gate and like been doing it for the last, 30 years of my life? Probably. But like, would I be writing the same stories that I am with those pictures every day?
Yeah.
No. And also, I think like,
And,
when I was 21 years old, I was like graduating college. I was, studying Japanese. I was living in Japan. I was going into law school. Like, and I figure like that was what I did, like starting as a baby, right? Up into my early 20s, I accomplished those things. So like as a grown adult with all of this like knowledge and experience, like what could I do with the next 20 years of my life? You know? um and I think that puts it in perspective, like what I accomplished by like my 25th birthday. Like certainly would hope I've got that much time ahead of me, with a quite a little bit more of a head start than I did that time. So
well, and Brian
what do they
says,
say, like
passion over profit for the win. And when you do it right, eventually you obtain both. And it's true because we work harder at our passions, right? Like, look, I work pretty hard as a real estate agent, but I have to stop myself from doing the but mostly Disney stuff, right? Like I have to rein myself in and go, oh, it's 1:00 and I haven't done anything, and it doesn't feel like work. And it's a little bit of a cliche, but that's the kind of thing that really puts it over the goal line. There's a sports metaphor from a I played football in high school and I still can't get it right.
So you talk about doing stuff that you go back and think about. Like I was community service away from being an Eagle Scout. I quit doing it to play golf, and that didn't work out. But then my passion is cars, as you know, Tater. At least you
Right.
know the ship. I had the opportunity to go work for a race team in Ohio. If I'd have took that job, which would have been my passion, I don't think Disney would have even come into my mind.
Right. You just don't know.
I'd have been in a different part of the country, and it wouldn't have. I'm 5 hours from it. I can one little drive. I can be there in a half a day. But if I had done what I wanted to as a 21-year-old, I don't think I have the life and the family I have right now because I'd be traveling all over the United States. So for me, not doing that kind of got into the car world a little bit, Oh, this guy's up here.
Yeah, we're getting trolled a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Shouldn't you
Hello
be in
from
bed?
Singapore.
Every time I see him online and he's awake, I'm like, shouldn't you be sleeping? Don't you sleep?
He doesn't
All right.
sleep.
So I feel bad, but to finish up, I did what I really wanted to talk about, I swear, was a little bit about Run Disney.
Run, yeah.
Okay.
Please
and
tell
so-
me about running.
So there's neither one of us do much running.
Neither of us
So
run. I have a twin sister. She runs ultra marathons. I don't run.
Right. Lou's on a ship ordering us all chicken fingers right now to make sure we
Yeah.
can't run. But there's another community where you're combining something that, at least from your photos, you're really good at, and then you've got a really loyal following there, and it's really cool to watch that. So why running, but more specifically, why running Disney, or is it just that's how it works? Because that's where you are.
So, I mean, it dovetails into like the background story that I touched on in the beginning, but I didn't touch on the running. So, I was never a runner growing up at all. Like, I was never an athlete growing up at all. I was into like health and like all the things I was supposed to do to like have a clear head and like get my work done. And, I ate the right foods and drank water and meditated and did yoga and like all the things you're supposed to do to like be healthy and function well in society. But I was never like a runner in the slightest. And when my father was ill, and that was I alluded to it before, but it was a really, really hard time. He was, he had leukemia before, and he passed away, about a year after he was diagnosed. And it was, I had 2 young kids at the time, and I was in this legal career. It was just a really hard time in my life. And I remember I like sat down to do like a meditation one day just to clear my head, and my body just revolted. It was like, you are not sitting still with your thoughts right now. It was just, it wasn't a place I could be. And so I just kind of like listened to my body in that moment, and I like went for a run. And that was the beginning of it. Like and distance running became like, I talk about distance running, and I think I did earlier in this call, or maybe before we started the live, but is sort of like a meditation for me. And it always has been.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of my mental health comes from running, and running really did get me through, as best I could, that particular time in my life. And then after my dad passed away, I found that it was sort of like I touched on before, it was sort of like opening up this place in my mind where I think I was like afraid to tiptoe into before. And I kept at it. And then I think, and at the same time, like I alluded to that Disney trip after he passed away, which was where like the Disney thing sort of picked up full steam ahead. And I got like very much into like the Disney world and the Disney adult thing at that point in my life. And in 2016, and I remember finding out that the 2016 Disney half marathon was on February 21st, 2016, which was the 2-year anniversary of his passing, and also the day after my birthday. And I remember finding out about that race, and so Disney had been like this sort of salvation to me at that time, and running was like the other half of that. It was like these 2 things that were sort of like getting me through the day. Then that's melodramatic, but like the 2 things were like I was finding like sort of peace and happiness like in that time in my life. And I remember finding out that the 2016 Princess Marathon was on the 2-year anniversary of his passing, and thinking like, what a cool way to like show the universe I'm still kicking, is to run this race. Now I mean, not to overstate, because if you run, you run, but like, I could do a half marathon blindfolded, but at the time, like a half was a really, really big deal for me. And so I trained for this race, and it was super like meaningful and symbolic and like all the things. And I did, and I went and I ran that first race 10 years ago in 2016. And caught the Run Disney bug. And it just was this like perfect marriage of these 2 things that had become such a big part of my life. And I discovered that there was like this wild community of people that did this thing that like united both of those things. And it's like a Pringle, like you can't just have one. It's and so I started doing more and more of the races. I started doing Princess Weekend and the Wine and Dine Weekend. Those are 2 of the 4 weekends that they have here each year. And you sort of get folded into and you talk about the Disney community. The Run Disney community is like the most wonderful, supportive, like incredible group of people. And so I got kind of folded into that wonderful thing, in running these races. And then once we moved down here, and they were literally just local races to me, right, I started just running them all. And so like the Dopey Challenge we do in January, which is, you're just loopy, with exhaustion by the end. But it's a 4-race weekend where you do a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, and a full marathon over the course of 4 days. It's 48.6 total miles. But it's just like, I could go on and on for forever about Run Disney, and I know we're running out of time, so I won't. But yeah, I mean, it like for me, I think it was just like this perfect marriage of these two things that I had found as an adult that meant so much to me. And then as I started to do them and like became folded into this community, and like running, continues to serve me in the way that it did back when I first discovered it. Yeah, so the Run Disney is sort of a subset of my Disney fandom, is very much my Run Disney community and people, and that part of my life. And we're finishing out the season actually. This coming weekend is the Springtime Surprise Weekend, where it's like a 5K, a 10K, and a 10 miler that I'm running this weekend to close out the 2025-2026 Run Disney season. But yeah, I've done over 100 of the races at this point. And
100?
100.
Yeah,
what is wrong with you?
I did I know, it's ridiculous. I did my 100th Run Disney last October. That was that Wine and Dine.
That's really
half
cool.
Marathon was my 100th.
I mean, that's neat.
Yeah, it's just a great, fun, healthy hobby with just the most like wonderful, like welcoming community in the world. People dress, I don't go all out, but like, so people are so creative, like with, it's the only time like when that an adult can go in full costume into the Disney park. So people come up with these incredible costumes, like so creative that you see with people. It's like, if you like people watching, like it's the best people watching.
We flew down just to cheer. I mean, it's so neat.
Yeah.
And it's no secret I love Disney, but I mean, my wife and I, now my wife, we haven't gotten her in one yet. I think she did a virtual one during COVID. And my wife could run forever. Like she could do a marathon now. I mean, with no training. She just, if I don't catch her in the first 5 feet, I'm never going to see her again in my life. She'd just be gone. So she really, really loves it. And she, same as you, she feels like it's a meditation when she can't meditate. She gets that runner's high. I think it's torture. I like I said, I did play football in high school, and I'd run 5 miles a day, and I just wanted to die. I hated it. I could bike ride forever, but I hated running. But we went down for a weekend just to cheer, just to stand out there at 5 a.m. and watch everybody go by. And it was awesome. I mean, it was one of the best events I've been to at Disney, standing there with 15 other people in the rain, and everybody's elated. There really is an energy. I mean, it's palpable. It's really, really cool. And your blog on that is insanely good. I mean, it's such a great resource for running. I'll never need to read it, but I know it's there if it comes to somebody else. If I need to pass somebody along to it. But
there's plenty of information on spectating in that as well. So.
Right. I like your outfits. I always look forward to your pictures. Because I like seeing what kind of bounding outfit you've put together for each race. It's really fun.
Very fun. Yeah.
Just big kids. See, and Karen's with me. She thinks it's torture as well, but she'd also like to do a 5K. You can do it.
I thought running was torture when I was younger as well. But it's interesting, like what becomes like, your rare moment of peace and quiet time that like, when you're running as a teenager, like nothing's really waiting for you at home. But when you're out on a long chill run as an adult, like that's some nice quiet time. It's, you listen to good music, you put on a book, you put on a podcast, just kind of take it at your own pace. And it's, the things that you dread as a younger person, I think like you learn to appreciate as an adult.
No, You're absolutely wrong. I'll take your word for it. Okay, so it's been over an hour. I knew this was going to happen because I could go on forever, and I just want to be respectful of your time. But please tell everybody all the different things you do and where to find you.
So we've alluded to them all, but the running and sort of life rebuilding work that I've done, you can find on my general site, which is thecastlerun.com. I have a corresponding Instagram where I share a lot of things as well under the Castle Runner. And then my photography work is under thousandcircles.com. I also have Thousand Circles Images as an Instagram, but you'll find everything on the website. And on thousandcircles.com, you can subscribe to the daily newsletter where I have at 9:00 every morning, you would receive a photograph and a little love note from me from the parks.
And you really should subscribe to that one. Like subscribe to mine if you want to, but hers actually has meaning and value. But it's a nice little love note while I'm having my coffee each morning. And I love the pictures. So, look, and Dr. Steven, as well we know, Run Disney is a life changer. And that's look, after being in the hospital, and Steven, if you're still listening, I've been walking my dog almost every day. I'm up at over a mile a day now, which getting me out of the house is tough. But I was telling Andrew, I started working out, and Karen lost 100 pounds. And she probably could do it. After getting sick will make you want to get healthy, right? like being on my back for 3 weeks. Nope. I've always thought of myself as a lazy person, and maybe I'm not, right? So I've been getting out, and it's awesome because Dr. Steven kept me was my accountability partner for that. So
He's awesome.
All right, Andrew, I saw you have a new video up 9 days ago.
Yeah. Should you be an AP or not? And it's I just decided to do one for people who didn't know, and just kind of went through what the different levels are. And my wife did it with me, which is cool because she doesn't like to be behind the camera, but I talked her into it. I'm sure it cost me some piece of jewelry, but
That's fine. She did great.
She did good. So I got some Magic Kingdom stuff from the last trip we went on. I'm editing now, so it'll be out Friday. But like you said, just post it. So I'm posting it. So.
You got to. I mean, and again, look, we always pick on Lou, but I mean, if you go back and look, my wife and I were talking about this. If you go back and look at episode 3 of WDW, it's different, right? Like I won't say it's bad because it's good enough that it kept going to whatever thousandth episode he's on, right? I mean, it's just Steven, we were talking about Eddie Rock bands. We're talking about Aerosmith because the Muppets are taking over. And, those guys in high school probably sat at home doing scales, right? They weren't out, raising hell. They were home practicing, and it's just about doing it. And it's not going to be good. I actually wanted to be a writer when I was in high school. And shortly thereafter, and I realized I just didn't have the passion for the work, right? Like I liked it. I liked the idea. I enjoyed doing it. But you have to write so much bad stuff to get it out, to get to the good stuff, right? And so the same, I think, is true with anything, with the videos, with content creation, with whatever you're doing. You got to do it a lot, right? You got to practice. You got to put it out there. So keep going, Andrew. I once heard
someone jokingly say that writing is the only form of art where like most artists enjoy the craft, like the act of creation. Writers like having written.
Right. It's true.
It's very true.
And you want to talk about imposter syndrome. Oh my gosh. I still have it all. Yeah. I still have it all in a notebook. I have a journal hidden away because I would not have anything creative, and I'd just start writing these weird stream of consciousness, Jack Kerouac's short stories to try to get it out of my system. It was a lot of fun. All right. Well, we will
write on the road like a weekend, right?
That's right. And how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice. Right?
Practice.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, we will not be here next week, Andrew, just so you know. I'll be at Disney next Tuesday night, and so I don't think I'll be able to do an episode. But after that, 2 weeks from tonight, we have Hawk coming back, and we're going to talk about some Disney pet peeves, still in a positive, choose the good kind of way. But
pet peeves, don't stand in the okay.
Yeah, we'll save it for the show. Don't give away all the content. Give them a little teaser. And then, as always, please subscribe to my newsletter and check out. Follow me on all the socials, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. All the things you're supposed to say and do. And thanks, Caleb, Chris. Thanks, Brian, Lou. Well, Lou's gone. He had to go eat. He went to second breakfast. Karen, thanks for always being here. I really appreciate it. And we will see you guys next week. Thanks, Lisa.
See you guys.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Our time is too short. It's over now. And we hate to say goodbye, but we'll be back next Tuesday night, or at least we sure will try.